A sudden and shocking turn of events unfolded on the rugged mountain roads of northern Korea when a convoy reportedly carrying weapons and supplies bound for Russia was ambushed by a swarm of 200 Ukrainian drones. The strike, which took place under the cover of night, marks a stunning escalation in the shadow war that has been quietly unfolding across multiple borders, one that now appears to directly involve North Korea's secretive military network. Though details remain murky and both Kyiv and Pyongyang have refrained from issuing official statements, multiple intelligence sources suggest that this was no ordinary operation, but a calculated attack meant to cripple the clandestine flow of North Korean weapons to Russian forces fighting in Ukraine. According to initial reports from military intelligence networks and satellite surveillance, the Ukrainian drones, believed to be long-range kamikaze and loitering munition types, were launched from an undisclosed location, likely within Allied territory. These unmanned aerial vehicles traveled hundreds of kilometers, guided by advanced GPS jamming-resistant systems, before converging on a remote supply route near the Sino-Korean border. The convoy they targeted was allegedly transporting short-range ballistic missiles, artillery shells, and other munitions destined for Russian front lines. Eyewitness accounts from nearby villages described the night sky lighting up with dozens of flashes as the drones descended in coordinated waves. Within minutes, explosions echoed across the valley, followed by a massive fire that engulfed several trucks and fuel tankers. The precision and timing of the attack suggested a high level of coordination and intelligence, possibly aided by satellite reconnaissance or intercepted communications. The aftermath, captured by leaked infrared imagery, showed smoldering wrecks stretching for nearly 2 kilometers. This event, if confirmed, represents one of the boldest drone operations attributed to Ukraine since the beginning of its defense campaign against Russia. For months, reports have circulated that North Korea has been supplying Russia with artillery shells and missiles in exchange for food, fuel, and technical support. Despite international sanctions, Pyongyang has maintained secretive shipping routes, often through intermediaries in the Russian Far East. The destruction of such a convoy not only disrupts that supply chain but also sends a clear signal: Ukraine is willing to strike deep into enemy logistical networks, even outside the immediate European theater. Analysts believe that this strike was symbolic as well as strategic. By targeting North Korean assets, Ukraine has highlighted the widening scope of the war, one that now involves a growing web of alliances. North Korea's partnership with Russia, once dismissed as a desperate move for survival, has now become a critical factor in sustaining Russia's long-term artillery capacity. On the other side, Ukraine's growing technological capabilities and support from Western allies have given it the reach and precision to carry out such daring missions. The message is unmistakable: no ally of Moscow is safe from retaliation. The timing of the strike could not have been more significant. Just days earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un reaffirmed their strategic military cooperation agreement, pledging mutual assistance in times of war. Their latest arms deal reportedly included the transfer of North Korean ballistic systems and production components for Russian drones. The Ukrainian attack, therefore, was not merely an act of sabotage, it was a warning shot across the bow of this emerging axis. Experts point out that this new phase of the conflict demonstrates how drone warfare has fundamentally changed the rules of modern combat. Unlike traditional air raids requiring fighter jets or long-range missiles, drone strikes are cheaper, more flexible, and harder to defend against. Ukraine's ability to coordinate hundreds of drones simultaneously shows how far its military innovation has come since the early stages of the war. Some of these drones, analysts speculate, may have been built using 3D printed components and programmed with swarm AI technology, allowing them to autonomously select and strike high-value targets. Meanwhile, satellite images released by independent observers show a devastating picture of the attack's aftermath. Several dozen vehicles, including armored transports and logistics trucks, were completely destroyed. Fires continued to burn for more than 10 hours, indicating the presence of fuel and explosives in the convoy. Intelligence reports suggest that among the destroyed cargo were surface-to-surface missile systems, likely KN-23 or KN-25 variants, along with crates of 152mm artillery shells. The loss of these weapons could delay Russia's upcoming offensive operations by several weeks. The geopolitical implications of the strike are equally far-reaching. North Korea has condemned what it called an act of aggression by imperialist proxies, though it stopped short of naming Ukraine directly. Russian officials, on the other hand, accused Western intelligence agencies of orchestrating the attack, calling it a blatant violation of sovereignty. NATO has declined to comment, but several Western diplomats privately admitted that the strike demonstrates Ukraine's growing operational reach and intelligence sharing capabilities. Behind the scenes, this incident has intensified discussions among global defense analysts about the evolving structure of warfare. No longer confined to frontlines, modern conflicts now spill across continents, fought through cyber networks, proxy supply routes, and remote drone assaults. Ukraine's success in striking such a distant target underscores how future wars may unfold, through data, precision, and technology rather than sheer manpower. The psychological effect of the attack cannot be overstated. For North Korea, a country that prides itself on military secrecy and resilience, this strike is a humiliation. It exposes vulnerabilities in its supply logistics and highlights how even the most isolated regimes can be reached by modern drone warfare. For Russia, it's a warning that the battlefield is expanding beyond Ukraine's borders, that every partner or supplier aiding Moscow could become a target. As investigations continue, questions remain about how Ukraine managed to execute such a long-range operation undetected. Some reports suggest assistance from regional intelligence partners, possibly involving satellite surveillance from allied nations. Others propose that Ukraine may have used disposable launch platforms in neutral territories, making the operation nearly impossible to trace. Whatever the truth, the result is undeniable, a devastating blow to the Russian-North Korea weapons corridor. The strike also marks a turning point in the perception of Ukraine's military strategy. No longer merely defensive, it now demonstrates global reach and precision capability. This could shift diplomatic dynamics as well, pushing other countries supplying Russia, such as Iran and Belarus, to reconsider their roles. It may even prompt the United Nations to reevaluate sanctions enforcement against Pyongyang, whose covert arms dealings have now become a direct factor in a European war. International reactions have been mixed. While Western media praised the operation as a technological triumph, others warned of potential escalation. China, which maintains close ties with both North Korea and Russia, expressed concern about the expansion of hostilities in its vicinity. There are fears that if Ukraine continues striking targets beyond its borders, Russia could justify counterattacks in neighboring countries that support Kyiv. However, Ukraine's leadership has consistently maintained that it reserves the right to target any military infrastructure contributing to the invasion. The coming weeks will determine how this strike reshapes the global narrative of the war. Satellite surveillance continues to monitor North Korean movements, and intelligence suggests heightened security around key transport routes. Russia, meanwhile, is reportedly increasing efforts to diversify its weapon imports, possibly turning more heavily toward Iran. Yet, the symbolic damage has already been done. The image of 200 Ukrainian drones swarming over a North Korean convoy has become a defining moment in this era of asymmetric warfare, a testament to the evolution of military strategy in the 21st century. For the people living near the border who witnessed the event, the attack will be remembered not as a political statement but as a terrifying display of technological power. The sky filled with light and fire, the earth shook as explosions rolled through the valleys. In the silence that followed, they understood that the age of invisible battlefields had begun, where wars are fought not by soldiers seen on the ground, but by machines that strike from the darkness, unseen, unstoppable, and unbound by borders.